Thanks for joining us. Happy second day of May. Uh, like I said, a small but mighty team. We only have one question submitted so far. But before we get into that, I want to get into what's exciting and happening next week is conference. And we're having our president-elect training, as you all are aware. So just want to give you all some reminders and to check to see where your head's at. Specifically in regards to the chapter leader lounge, just want to let you all know that that is a safe space for you, a haven, if you need to go in there and kind of recalibrate. I know I will occasionally. If I could get someone to post in the chat the location and the hours for that, but just want to make sure that you are welcome to utilize that. And also just a reminder for your president-elects, the training will take place May 8th and May 9th. That's Wednesday and Thursday in the Julius Ballroom. We're also going to be sending out, we did send out a week or so ago, note before you go email, and Emily's going to resend that just so it's at the top of everyone's emails. So, and lastly, I just wanted to check with you all to see if there's anything specific that you would like to make sure that we address while we're with them. You all had any thoughts? I guess that means our agenda is good to go. There's nothing to add. I think I might see one chat in there.
So Sally, there are a couple president-elects who had conflicts and were not able to make it in person. We will be offering a virtual thing for them probably in late summer. And so we will be getting information out. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfect. I don't think we've defined our president-elect yet.
Okay.
Because we have our AGM coming up. Our AGM is at the same time as the conference always, which is terrible timing, but.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. We will, yes, we'll make sure that we communicate that with everyone when that's coming up that wasn't able to attend. So
Okay.
we'll make sure that you can, meet that requirement for recertification.
Sure.
Perfect.
So is it possible for attendees to attend any of the council meetings or the board of directors meeting just as an observer?
Yeah, hi Linda. Yes,
Hi.
those meetings are open, just to observe. We do have chairs in the back of the room. So if you happen to be there early and want to, hear what they're talking about, yes, they are open.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you guys excited and ready? Or are you too busy?
Excited, ready,
All of the above.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning, I was like, how do you describe this to members?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, for managers that have annual meetings, your annual meetings are probably 2 hours, give or take, some a little longer. I'm like, this is like 3 days of annual meeting is how my prep is going. I'm like, it's a lot. It's kind of a lot, but it's all good. Well, we make it happen, but we have lots of people doing lots of things.
You should get to go to Hawaii for a month on us.
Oh, I like that. I don't know how that'll
Yeah.
fly over, but I mean, good. I can dream.
Yeah, we can stream. That's why I buy lottery tickets. It's buying a dream.
Same. It's a habit. I keep saying I'm going to stop. So, all right. Are there any other conference concerns, inquiries before we move on? And if something pops up, please be sure to utilize the chat and we can address it as we go throughout the meeting. No? All right. Well, I will pivot to the one question we did have submitted. It was submitted by Linda from Washington State. The question was in regards to starting a homeowners council that is just for advisory purposes. It wouldn't be authoritative. She would like to know if there's anyone who has done something similar, and if so, how did you all structure it?
What would be the purpose of it, just so we understand?
It would be advisory. So in the notes I have, it would just be an advisory homeowners or something similar type of council.
What we were trying to do was emulate what National does. I'm the first homeowner president in years, and have been focusing, we're calling this the year of the homeowners. So we were trying to give homeowners more of a voice, and in talking to the board and then the board talking to them. So we were going to start a task force, and then if that comes to light, if it looks like it's something that we want to do, then it'll become a committee. So I'm just wondering what the structure is, if anybody has one of these, and if not, then I guess I'll just emulate what National has. Okay then.
I think Linda, I think some chapters have a group that like helps plan, education for homeowners, or what kind of topics would be relevant. So I guess similar in nature to that. But it doesn't look like any of those people are on the call today. Oh, Kathy is raising her hand.
Yeah. So here in Illinois, what we have going on is we have that homeowner leader education committee. So that's a specific committee that plans for the courses that we offer to just that, the homeowner leaders, the potential decals, board members, people, just regular homeowners that want to become educated. Maybe they're kicking around the idea of wanting to become involved in leadership, but they want to know more so they can attend these classes. So we have that. We did have, and we do have actually, a group of homeowners that are working together that are very excited about having earned their decal recently, which is their dedicated community association leader designation. And they also talked about doing a similar thing as to what you're talking about, some type of a homeowner advisory council. And one of those homeowners reached out to me, and I said, well, when I'm listening to what you're saying, and I read over this very thoughtful proposal that one of the ladies that was spearheading it put together, I said, it sounds really great, but I'm looking at it side by side as to the commission or charter, I should say, for the homeowner leader education committee, and they're almost one and the same. You could almost lay them on top of each other. So it sounds like kind of what they were looking to do is more, I don't want to say social, because they want it to be organized, right? And what they don't want to happen is the homeowners to come together unorganized and have it become just this crab session, right? They just don't want to get together and have people complaining and whining, although that may be part of some of what comes out of it, right? Is sharing about some of the things that aren't going so great, but not just make it a total session that's maybe fraught with negativity. So they're still working on hashing that out as to how they would be able to do it and set it up so that they could have this time, the place, and all of the details of it. But that was kind of what we found here in Illinois, and being a bigger chapter, like I said, we sort of already had the homeowner education thing, but I think what they were looking to do with this homeowner advisory thing was to be a little bit more of a regular meeting safe space for homeowners to kind of get together and be able to talk and share ideas, which I think is great. But again, they wanted to add some type of structure to it and keep it from running off the rails,
Right.
so to speak.
Because homeowners would never run off the rails. Are you going to be in Vegas, Kathy?
I am. I will be.
Can I try to connect with you there?
I would love that.
It sounds like you're talking just exactly about what I want to do. Homeowner education, our conference committees and our education committee is supposed to address homeowner education. So, but I kind of like the idea that maybe that's something they talk about, because unless I'm on the committee, or now that I'm president, I'm listening in on all the committees, it hadn't been the focus, and this year it is more of a focus. So we just came up.
Can I ask Question, Linda, is it homeowner education or homeowner, like the leaders, like the directors of the boards, their
Well,
education?
Yeah, when we just had an annual conference and we had a homeowner strand, and some of it was just homeowners, and then some of it was meant for homeowner board members, but it didn't matter what we called it, they intermixed them. They,
Yeah, okay. Because I've
board
been
members-
involved in a program before where we tried to do kind of directors for directors program, so that
Right.
where groups of directors would get together. I always kind of put training for homeowners into kind of living well in a condo, like, you know, how to live properly in your condo or home or homeowners association. Versus the boards, you know, they need the governance kind of education, right? So a little bit different. But I've run some programs before where the directors get together in a kind of directors for directors format where we would center the conversation around a particular topic, you know, to try and keep them on the rails. And sometimes we'll even do it as a follow-up discussion to another education program. So if we run a webinar and then there's an opportunity, there's kind of the, you know, an education session where you're learning about something, and then we'll have the groups of directors meet to hash out the content, like so that they can see how it applies to their case or how they've dealt with things. We typically would host them just in one of the particular condos. So one of the people who's
Oh.
attending would volunteer their party room or whatever, and you know, and then provide cookies to them or whatever. And then so that it moves from condo to condo, which lets them sort of profile their condo or share ideas about what they're doing in their building too. I've never had great success with turnout though. You know, it's kind of always the same 20 people that show up month after month.
Right.
Yeah, so that's
Thank
the
you
challenge.
both.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you
problem.
both so much. Are you going to be at National, Sally?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
Oh,
Our
okay.
chapter's kind of just, the Canadian chapter is getting off of its feet, just on its feet currently. So we don't have any
Okay.
spare funds really.
Well, I appreciate all this information. It's given me a little bit different perspective. So thank you.
No problem.
I did find a charter or it's a more of a scope of a homeowner education committee. I'm not sure who to give credit for which chapter, but I found it in our files. And so I put that in the chat as well.
Thank you.
It might be Kathy's, I'm not sure. It wasn't labeled, so.
Thank you very much. God, you guys are great, full of information.
That's why we do this.
I have
I
an,
see-
I have
go
a
ahead,
question
Sally.
too, if there's time. Our chapter's thinking, so this year we're trying to focus on like in-person education as opposed to the webinars. There's so many seminars and webinars available from every company under the sun. So we want to do in-person. And we're trying to emulate the building tours. I think there's one program that you guys do nationally where you go and it's a couple of days touring buildings or something. But we wanted to do that at a single building level, like just to have the folks come out, have lunch, and then do tours of a particular building to take them into a mechanical room and see what an elevator machine room looks like and all that sort of thing. Is that anything anybody's tried in a chapter, I wondered? Not for these folks.
Personally, I love the idea. I think because, you know, until I was on the board for the state, I never really understood what other homeowner association, I mean, my association was it. It was the
Yeah.
bond and there was nothing else. So I've learned so much about the various sizes and, you know, different ways of governing them. So that would be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I'm a little bit worried about the sort of safety side of things, you know, like having people into spaces that like service rooms and that sort of thing. So I don't know that on the national front, when it's done nationally, I don't do you, the CAI guys know how it's handled from an insurance perspective by any chance?
I actually work with two events that do tours at communities. One's a high-rise tour and one's a large-scale community
Yeah.
tour. And we have it wrapped into our regular general liability insurance. Like for our events, we don't do additional event insurance for it. I do see your point as far as liability. I don't know as far, I would check with your insurance agent to see, or check with, you know, a local attorney to see if, you know, there's any kind of concern there or language that you could possibly put on the invitation for the event to say, you know, FYI, there were going to be in structures of tight spaces or, you know.
Well, see,
rooftops.
like God forbid somebody trips, and if someone has volunteered their
Totally.
building for the tour, I don't want them to be sued about it, right? So it's like, how do you manage that is sort of an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, we don't have any language around that, but now you're
Okay.
making me think maybe we should. Because we've been in some interesting places where people could totally get hurt. I mean, we definitely, advise people like to watch their step and that sort of thing, but I don't think we have anything in writing around it.
Okay.
Emily, thank you for the education committee scope. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
Hey, Alicia, there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you
Yeah, I
saw it.
see. I do. It's from Brian in Central Florida. It's centered around board director buy-in. So his question is, when do you have your BOD meeting? Also, what have you done to get buy-in from your CED and tenured board members to gain support? Sally?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm happy to a board where nobody was paying attention. Everybody was checked out. People were coming to the meetings, but not saying anything. And I realized that part of it was because there was just no sense of direction. Like they didn't know where we were going, why we were doing what we were doing. And so we actually put together a very structured business plan that set out really clear objectives for each of the committees. Here's what the expectation is for you to achieve. Here's the goals. Like here's why we're doing what we're doing. Set clear budgets for everybody, set clear revenue targets for everybody. And I find that once they know what it is they have to do, then stuff gets done. Versus when everybody's wandering in the dark at counter purposes and nobody's really sure about what's happening, then nobody does anything. So my advice is always just absolute clarity. And if anybody wants to I'm happy to share the business plan that I did, or the budget tool that I developed, or the education planning tool that I developed. But I just think the committees need clarity and the board needs clarity. Then suddenly everybody's bought in and they're all moving towards in the same direction. And life is good.
If I can respond to that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And that's ironically, that's exactly the issue that I'm getting pushback on and not getting buy-in on. It's because we put together a charter for each of the committees, and the implementation's not happening, and a lot of the liaisons on the committees are kind of pushing back because it's like more work for them. And like the comments are being made that they, changes are being made and we have to do this now and we have to do that. So it's just kind of like, that's exactly what I've done, is tried to make it easier for them, but they're not buying into it.
Huh. I do think you do have to spend some time with each of the committees, getting them sort of pumped up that this is our new vision. This is where we want to go. If we all work together, we can be successful.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, but it's just really not being well received.
Well, but then explore what there may be something that they're really opposed to in the plan too, right? Where they don't agree with it. So you maybe want to iron that out as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm in the process of doing. So
because there's no point having,
I know I'm on track.
Yeah, no point in having a committee if they're not achieving the common goals of the whole association, right? It's like, and so, but if they think it's something else, that's something you got to clear up in a hurry. But it's a mess. Well, we've just been through a year where nothing got accomplished because nobody knew what the hell they were doing.
So we have our board meetings on the second Wednesday of every month. And we started a different way of approaching board liaisons, where I wanted to have some type of two-way communication from the chair of the committees to the board liaison and back again. And the committees loved it. I suggested it at the committee chair orientation, and they loved the idea, which I wasn't expecting such a great response. So this was the first month that the liaisons did it, and it was more of a two-way conversation. And so the committee chairs appreciated that. Our committees fill out a committee snapshot that is sent in right before the board meeting. It comes out in our board packet, but there's nothing like the conversation that makes it. And as far as buy-in from the CED, this was started years ago. I don't know who to give credit to. We have a leadership team meeting call every Monday for an hour, and it includes our CED, the immediate past, the current, and the next president. And we talk about the things that are coming up that week, or how was the conference, how was this, how was that. And so I, as president, get a good sense of where their heads are at. and how we can support the CED and how he can support us. And it's working out really well, because there's no argument amongst us at the board meeting. Now, that doesn't mean we're always going to agree, but at least we know what's coming and we're not blindsided. And that part I love.
Okay, your board meeting. So we have our board meeting, we had it this morning. How long does your board meeting last? Because we have ours the day of our luncheon, and it's just, it's always rushed. Like there's never enough time to get business discussed. And so I'm always rushed. And
We
that never
schedule,
can really.
we schedule them for 90 minutes, and last year they went over quite a bit. So this year I've been very focused, and I let the conversation happen, but I don't let it drag on and on and on. And I give my opinion as to what should happen to kind of help direct them. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. So today we had our meeting because of national conference. We had it today. And I finished the meeting 15 minutes early. I was so proud of myself. So I think it's up to us as the leader to help keep the conversation tight and focused and not let people ramble on and on and on. So you just
You know what I
say,
think?
shut up, and they stop.
You know, one of the things I find in these board meetings, I mean, I haven't been involved with CAI for that long, but I've been doing this stuff for 15 or so years. And is that you have to make sure that the committees only report if they've actually met. Because committee chairs or liaisons will say, oh, it's doing well, education, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, have you met since the last board meeting? No, then don't talk. Like, stop talking, right? Tell us when your next meeting is and move on. And the other thing is to make sure that the board doesn't take away the committee's mandates. Right? So if you're solving the committee's problems in the board meeting, that's when you're going to run out of time. Versus if you say, hey, there's clearly a lack of clarity on the committee side about what's going to be done here. We need to hear feedback from the committee what the proposal is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the committees get frustrated too, because if the board is solving their problems, then what's their role, right? So it's like you need to have a report from the committees, but it needs to be a report, not a solving of their problems in the meeting.
Yep.
That's such a good point, Sally. It's a really good point.
I was just going to mention, Brian, do we try to hold your meeting on the same day as a luncheon?
Yeah.
Doesn't ever seem to really work. We did it last year a couple times when it was under a different president, and it's always rushed. People don't have time to be gone from their offices all day long for luncheon and doing a board meeting. So I highly recommend trying to move it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to do.
We do ours always the last Wednesday of the month. Whatever the last Wednesday of the month is, everybody knows that's the day. And we make sure that we don't have any events scheduled on the same day, nothing scheduled on the next day if possible. You know, those are the types of things that we do to make sure that everybody has it. And then I'm exactly like Linda, 90 minutes. If you can't get everything accomplished within 90 minutes, then you might need to turn around and schedule a secondary meeting or push that to unfinished business for the next meeting. That's what we typically do.
Yeah, I agree with him. We had to switch from where it was just too much. And in addition to the lunch seminars, because there's people, it felt like it was the same crowd, and to give an opportunity, we switched between lunch seminars and breakfast. So it kind of switches it up, because there's people that, especially for us, we're tri-state, because we have people coming from different areas coming in. And so it just gives an opportunity, because lunch sometimes is hard in the middle of the day for people. So.
That's part of my reason for the buy-in question, though, because I proposed to move the meeting and I was overruled. So it's a bit challenging right now because everything I'm proposing is getting kind of shut down. So like the
maybe
meeting
just would they maybe just be, rather than completely saying, hey, change all of them, just maybe say, hey, try this one and see how the turnout is, and before
I'll try that again. But I was just curious if anybody else was faced with that same challenge. Like, you know, it sounds like you were, but you were able to get buy-in to move the meeting. You know, but I was just going to make another comment, and that's that I would say the majority of the board doesn't attend the luncheon. So it's more so about me and the CED, you know, being a part of the luncheon. The rest of the board isn't even attending the luncheon. So
do you guys have an attendance, anything related from an attendance standpoint for your board or your committee chairs? Like we do, we have it all set up that there's a requirement to attend so many functions and to be present. And we get great turnout at our luncheons from our boards. Sometimes the social events, because of what time they are at, 6 o'clock at night on a Tuesday or on a Thursday, doesn't always work for some of our board members. But for a majority of our luncheons, I tend to have 8, 9 board members at every single luncheon, which has been great.
Yeah, we've never had that, but I will say we have the board is I feel like every member is fantastic and handles business appropriately, when it comes to when we're actually meeting, and they attend the board meetings and what have you.
But they
It's
need to
just-
attend the event. I mean, I had that same problem, and
Yeah,
it was really upsetting to me, especially when I head up the trade show and it comes to the trade show and then I have no board members there. And I'm like, that's pretty upsetting because that needs to be the people supporting it. And
well, they all go to the trade show. I mean, they're all,
well,
most of them,
but it doesn't matter what event. I mean, they all could
Yeah.
go to the golf event. I'm like, okay, I know that's more exciting than what I was doing, but I'm like, so, but they need to make sure, like he said, that there's attendance requirements to make sure that they're there to represent. If they wanted, they can't just go to the board meeting and not do the other stuff. It's all part of the package,
Do they have
And
to
I
pay to
agree with
attend?
that. No, well, they do if they're not a homeowner leader. Yeah, I mean, I believe that's how we handle it. Yes. I guess I mean, I was looking for like, has anybody done any kind of team building or any kind of exercise? Because I mean, all the things that you're saying I'm doing, but I'm getting resistance. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm just spinning my wheels because I can't get I got like a list of 20 things that I want to try to do is while I'm president. I can't get anywhere with any of them because I'm just not getting the buy-in and I'm getting resistance. I mean, I've served on, 4 different boards for like 10 years. I'm a vice president of my HOA. I have a homeowner leader seat on the board. I mean, I'm spending my time trying to, get this going in the right direction. Not that it's broken, but I can't get any buy-in from, enough to carry any momentum. We're getting little things done, but it's not making an impact because we're not following it all the way through. So I didn't know like if they're, I feel like the board is a great board, but there's just no teamwork. It's like everybody just shows up for the meeting and they go on their own way and there's
Can
no
you negotiate?
cohesive
Can you
strategy.
negotiate with them, like, and say, I know that this is something that you want to keep doing this way. Well, can we try to just change, like, just try to do some give and take with them since they want to seem to keep their path on this way? At least try to say, okay, well, if we do this, can we at least change this one thing or something?
And I would say, Brian, I would say, forget yourself for the meeting before the luncheon. I would just tell the rest of the board, it is completely unfair to the CED to have them sitting in a meeting right before a luncheon that they're organizing.
Special assessments, so it's a
Right?
different-
Imagine having a
yeah,
party at
yeah.
your house and 50 visitors are coming and you're not there in the hour and a half before it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I've
So I
tried
would
to
just use them
spin
as the reason.
Yeah, I've spent it every way possible, but
One other thing
Funding out.
I was going to mention too, Brian, we out here, we do here in Southern California, we do a retreat, a board retreat.
okay.
Prior to even starting the year. So when I was chosen to be the president last year, I was lucky enough to attend nationals with somebody who was actually past president, came with us, as well as my now president-elect, who actually was one of the people who spoke to us at nationals in Dallas last year, Greg Borzilleri, who's on the partner council now as well, so business partner council. And so we've had sort of a bit of a tight-knit group as far as our board has been concerned. We do have a lot of new faces, so we held a retreat to bring everybody together to talk about what the upcoming year was going to look like, what our roles were going to be.
When you say retreat, not to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but when you say retreat, are you talking like an overnight situation? Or are you talking
No,
about
no, no.
just
We
like
just
a workshop?
we went. Yeah, no, we didn't do a overnight. We just went. I live down by Southern California, so we have a bunch of wineries and whatnot. We went out to a winery for the day. I was able to use one of their rooms, and we sat there for, it was a good like 6-7 hours, but we came together as a group and talked about what's been going on since the COVID year. How can we get better as we continue to move forward out of that situation? Because we were completely shut down, just like everybody else was, but we went a little bit longer. Some of our areas out here in California were a little bit more strict, obviously, than other parts of the country. And
that's a good idea. Yep.
So doing that retreat, we got buy-in. We also got to hear from board members of things that weren't working. We also had a brand new executive director who was barely in their first year last year and now is in his second year. So there was a lot there as well because he's still learning. And so for him to hear new ideas, but also some people from the past was great. Same for me as well, being the first time being a board president was also very good. This is my second stint on the board. So coming from the past 5-6 years ago to seeing what it is now, completely different. We're moving in the right direction, more clarity, more transparency with our board, our committees, as well as the membership. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody is steering the ship in the right direction, and we're all on the same board. And then the other thing that we've done is we've had quarterly check-ins with each other. So I've done a quarterly check-in with my team as well, where outside of the board meeting, I'll just pull everybody together like this on a Zoom and say, how's everybody doing? Where's your head at? Are we all still, paddling the same direction? Is there something that we need to make an adjustment on? And then go from there. And then I've been doing that also one-on-ones with the committees themselves. So
that's a lot like what we do here in Washington. We have an overnight retreat, but the first day, it starts at 11 o'clock, includes all the committee chairs. And then the second day is the board. In the morning, we go over everything that we heard from the retreat. We get all their ideas and we brainstorm all kinds of things, and to be sure we're all going in the same direction. Get really creative ideas in that way. And then the board meeting is right after we kind of debrief about retreat. And it's really helped our board kind of gel and get to know each other better. Most people knew each other, but it helped with our team building and with our focus.
All right, I know we're running short on time. I did have one question come up and I want to make sure we address it as well. The question is, the statement starts with, we have 11 people on the board, all but 3 leave in May because they are founding members. Are there any recommendations for restarting when only 3 members are continuing on?
Well, I don't know if I have a recommendation, but I'm glad they have 3 members continuing on, because that brings the institutional knowledge. And they're not the majority, so hopefully the new people will bring their fresh ideas like Brian Jones is trying to do. But I don't have any. I'd have to give that some think time.
To kind of turn that question a little bit is, what do you all do to attract new board members? So just think of just in any regular year when you're soliciting people to fill a manager or a homeowner seat, what are there things that you do to attract people to run for one of those positions?
Beg.
I was going
to beg.
I ask them, I say, would you like to
beg?
I just ask them if they'd like to consider joining the board, and then I talk up how much fun it is. I don't lie about the amount of work, because you can't do that. But we ask if there's somebody that's been around a while or somebody that seems to have good ideas at some of these events we put on. We just ask them to consider, and sometimes it works.
I was going to say, what I've done, and I actually was able to get one to join the board this year for my presidency. I look at people who are involved that just aren't involved at this level. So some of them might be a committee chairperson, or has been a committee chair for a few years, or on a committee or on multiple committees, and just saying, is there a chance that you might want to take this to the next level, which is being on the board, taking this chapter in a direction that works for this geography and for our membership. But I think that's one of the key places to start. Is just, I mean, you'll notice who's involved or who's at everything, who goes out of their way to help out with anything. I mean, the person that I was able to get on the board this year, she has been a part of multiple committees. She's chaired a couple committees over the last few years. She is the first person to ask if you need any help with anything at any other events that she's not even a part of, as well as with luncheons. She's willing to help walk around and ask for people to sign up for the next upcoming event, or are you interested in being sponsored for the next luncheon, whatever the case may be. That's a champion right there for the chapter. So I just went and asked if they had the time, if they were available, and if there was any interest. And we ended up having a nice sit down. I took her to for coffee, and we sat there and discussed the amount of time that she'd be looking at contributing as a board member, just so that she knew exactly what she was getting into before she said yes. And here we are 4 months later, going into our 5th month now, and everything seems to be working great. She's still a committee chair as well as working on the board. So and so far so good, knock on wood. She's an up and comer, and it's great. So great ideas too, new fresh ideas for the board, which has been really a breath of fresh air, I guess you could say, for our team.
Yeah, so thanks for that, guys. I mean, it's kind of interesting because we have our 3 remaining board members are also our committee chairs. So it's a pretty lean group, but I'm hoping to attract some new folks to it. My biggest challenge is going to be having 3 people who've got, all 3 of us have less than 3 years of experience with CAI, and then 8 new people, right? So it's going to be entertaining, but anyways, we'll see how it goes.
Nice. Is there anything else to add to that topic? Or are there any other questions that may have popped up during a really great discussion from you all today?
I love these sessions. I just have to say, I can't always call in. Sometimes our board meeting affects it. But I love that we do these. So thank you, staff, for continuing this tradition, however long it's been there.
I was just talking to
Yeah.
someone about that today, actually. These really started after COVID. Before that, we didn't have much communication with our presidents, our president-elects, except for at our annual conference. And so it's been really cool for us to make those connections with you all as well. So thank you for, sticking in there and coming too. And please tell, if you're at conference, please tell all your colleagues, your other chapter presidents, what they're missing out on if you don't see their faces here too.
Also,
Yeah,
after conference, starting in June, we'll invite the president-elects. We like to wait until after we've had, the training at conference, but we'll add them in as well. So encourage your president-elect to also join if they're available. So, because, a lot of good stuff leading into your year as president too.
So how come it's just 1 year? I mean, by the time it's national conference, I've got all these ideas, and then I'm already training the president-elect. It feels so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels broken to me. It feels like it should be 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
It's just such a short time.
It actually is for me, because we changed our bylaws, and so it is I'm president-elect for 2 years because we have to change our bylaws. So I think I'm having a longer term of president-elect than probably anybody else.
Well, it's the chapter bylaws are modeled after CAI's bylaws, and CAI's bylaws are for a 1-year term. We do have a handful, I would say, Emily, wouldn't you agree? A handful of chapters that have 2-year terms.
There's only like 2 or 3.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So not
And
even a handful.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I'll say I feel it's like a 2-year term. I mean, my year of president-elect was, it started early, that's for sure. You have to really start thinking about your vision and your theme, and, sitting there and talking with boards or committees and determining what you're going to then present. What I presented to the board in like September, October, Actually, it was before that because I made sure I had our marketing plan out first this year in California because we were late last year. But you know, I think it does feel like for me anyways, it felt like it's been a 2-year term.
Well, you have to have a president who's willing to share that with you. And
True.
Absolutely.
I wasn't able to start talking until October or November. And so, you know, that made it a little hard. So I've made a promise I'm not going to do that to my president-elect. She's going to start after nationals. So
That's absolutely a good point, is you have to have a good partnership. And I would go further, Brian, and say even as immediate past president, you maybe not being as engaged, but being available to
Yeah.
talk periodically, because to be able to carry things through year over year.
Right.
The 2-year terms, the few chapters that have them, one in particular, it's been that way for such a long time and works for them. I will tell you honestly, the others, we don't really recommend it, and here's why. Is it's a long time. So like Robin, you're saying 2 years as president-elect, and
no,
2 years.
we had to change someday. It's not like if the president-elect is going to be 2 years. We were changing
Changing
something.
some around.
Yeah, and so because of that, changing the president's term, it turned out that I'm president-elect. Yeah.
Just you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't really recommend it because it's a long time, and you don't always know what you're going to get until that person is in their year. And I'm trying to be as politically correct as possible.
No,
but-
not you, Rob.
no, not, and I mean, I don't think any of you, but you know, sometimes what people put forth before their president isn't how they execute as a leader. And if a chapter wants to put in that you may be elected to a second term, I feel better about that, because I've unfortunately seen chapters that have gotten stuck, if you will, with somebody in position for 2 years and them not being, you know, not moving the organization forward, or being very dictator-ish, you know, things that you don't want to see in our organization. So that's why I hesitate. I do totally understand a 1-year term it seems to go really fast, and especially Linda, like you said, if you're not engaged. But I would say Linda has the best takeaway: engage your president-elect now so that they're set up for success, you know, going into 2025.
And Crystal, I'll add to that the couple chapters that we mentioned that I've worked with that have the 2-year terms, their president is tired. You mentioned it, but I will reiterate, they're tired at the end of those 2-year terms. And so you mentioned we want to keep them engaged as past president, but whenever their 2 years are up, it's like, peace out, see ya, I'm done. You know, I did my 2 years. So that's another challenge there. So
See y'all next week, hopefully.
See you there next week. Bye, everyone.